Alright, so we're having some major windstorms here in Virginia, so the power actually just went out and my lighting kit just went out. So we are relying on window light here, and I jacked up the ISO, so if the video is a little bit noisy, trust me, I know. Today we're going to take 3 shaker bottles and pit them against each other. Why are we doing this? Well, because there's so many different shaker bottles in the market right now, and each of them claim to be the very best with the very best technology. And I was very confused when I wanted to buy a shaker bottle. I originally had a blender bottle, which worked. I liked it, but I left it in Washington when I moved all the way over here. So I had to buy a new one. So I wanted to figure out which one was the best. And the more and more I read about each of these, the more and more I was confused. I was like, oh my goodness, which one's the best? From what I could ascertain, the best bottle with a shaky, bouncy thing on the inside was the blender bottle. It is the reigning champ. It is the king of shaker bottles, traditional shaker bottles at least. That noisy, bouncy thing in there is by far the best bouncy, mixy thing in any traditional shaking bottle. There are other bottles, yes, that have different designs of bouncy things. Some of them are plastic balls with fins on them. Some of them are like jacks, like those little sharp minefield things that you play with as kids. You just toss them on the floor and hope an adult steps on them, and and then they curl up in a ball and they're just going, ah! Yeah, I was a pretty terrible child. But yeah, so they have all kinds of different designs, but from what I've seen, and this is including other things like the mesh that are in some shaker bottles that aim to break up the powder and help it mix better. The mesh, from what I've seen in current comparison videos to the blender bottle, it just doesn't work very well. It's not a great mixing tool. Things just get clumped up and stuck, and it just doesn't perform as well as having a whisk flying around in the bottle mixing things up for you. The other biggest innovation in traditional bottles that I've seen is the one with a straw and a spring that just goes rapidly up and down the straw. That is supposed to mix and break things up, but from what I've seen, that also fails to mix things up as well as the blender bottle does with its whisk. So, in the category of traditional shaker bottles, the reigning champ blender bottle will be representing them. Now, onto the fringe designs of shaker bottles. We have the ShakeSphere. It is a bottle that has nothing on the inside. It claims to shake and mix your drinks perfectly without the need of a noisy, extra peripheral thing bouncing around inside that you have to keep track of and you have to clean. And I don't know how many of you blender bottle owners have ever lost a blender bottle whisk. I have lost one whisk once ever, so it's not a huge deal for me, but it is nice to not have to think about that thing, that extra thing when you're drying it. You know, it falls off the drying rack and it's rolling around all over the place, or sometimes you get like peanut butter or soft fruit stuck in the wire. It gets kind of gross. It's an extra thing you have to take care of. Plus, it's really noisy. I mean, if you live with anybody and you want to make a protein shake in the morning, listen to this. It's annoying. Even with liquid inside, and you will see that momentarily, it is still obnoxiously loud. Everybody knows you are using a blender bottle. However, with the ShakeSphere, it is silent. Because there's nothing inside, obviously it's going to be quiet. So how does it work? Well, according to ShakeSphere, it is the interior design. It is completely rounded on the bottom and on the top, allowing for greater energy transfer, so that unlike the older blender bottles with a flat bottom, when you shake them, the energy isn't just impacting the flat bottom, and you're not just losing energy that way. Because it's so rounded, when you shake it, it goes in, it comes out, and then it channels it back through the top. So here's a little graphic from their website. It shows the supposed energy transfer while mixing in a ShakeSphere. This is the one that I've been primarily driving for the past month. They claim that you can puree an entire banana in it dry without any liquid or anything. You just take a banana, not the whole bunch, just one, and drop it right in, and if you just shake it hard enough, it will puree, and we will put that to the test, don't you worry. Blend a banana in a bottle by shaking it? Is it possible? You'll find out. Stick around. And you can put some fruits in blender bottles as well. However, they say not to just toss the entire banana inside and shake it, probably because the ball is just gonna bite into it and get stuck. They recommend to take the banana and puree it in the skin by squishing it, basically just mushing it, and then opening one end and squeezing it out like a toothpaste tube into the blender bottle before you shake it up. I don't know about you, that sounds like a lot of extra steps, and it's not nearly as cool as throwing a whole banana into the bottle and shaking it up. That's just something badass about that. I don't know. Alright, and finally we have the Helix Mix, which is another bottle that claims to be able to mix your drinks thoroughly without the use of any sort of bouncy thing on the inside or mesh or any sort of thing. When I bought my ShakeSphere, I was conflicted between this one or that because they both essentially supposedly do the same thing. They mix your drink without the need of an extra device inside the bottle. So I went back and forth quite a bit, but then I looked up some physics and figured out that the circular energy transfer thing would be better than having a vortex-like motion, because, I mean, for vortex I can just add a twist. You know, if I really want that vortex motion, I can twist it while shaking it, and I'll still get that spin. This one will do it for you because it is a helix design, so it's like a hexagon, but it's twisted so that when you shake it up and down, it should send the water twisting up, kind of like a little tornado or whirlpool, up and then down, up and down. It does have a flat bottom though, so I'm not sure how that's going to prevent clumpage at the bottom, but we'll find out. And one notable thing about this brand is it's very American. It's overtly American. Here, I gotta show you the box. Made in the USA. It has a flag on it. On the Amazon page, it's like the first thing on it is made in the USA. Proudly made in America. There you go at the bottom, made in the USA. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see that. So I don't know if that really matters much to anybody. I really don't care, but if you love to support American companies, then the Helix Mix is as patriotic as you're going to get. This is Uncle Sam's shaker bottle. Once again, I want to apologize for the changing lighting conditions because we are window lit right now, and clouds are passing by, and the light's changing, and the power is dead in my neighborhood, so I can't turn on my ring light. So sorry you have to deal with that. Since these shaker bottles are primarily used for making protein shakes for post or pre-workout or other things like that, that's the first test we're gonna do. So let's do the weigh-in first though. So weighing in at around 156 grams. That's the ShakeSphere, or for you Americans, 5.5 ounces. 5.5 ounces. And then the blender bottle weighs in at 6.5 ounces with the ball inside, or 186 grams for the rest of the world. Finally, the Helix bottle weighs in at 202 grams, or 7.2 ounces. Now, it is important to note that the blender bottle we will be using is a newer generation blender bottle, so it no longer has the flat bottom. This is the Blender Bottle Pro Series, not the Pro Stack. There's no stacky thing at the bottom, but it's the Pro Series, which, as far as I could tell, is exactly the same as the Blender Bottle Classic version 2, with the exception that it is made of Eastman Triton plastic, which is a better type of plastic than the regular plastic used in the other blender bottles, I guess. It's supposed to be more odor resistant and stuff like that. Is it a big deal? Not really if you wash your bottle regularly, but on those days that you forget to wash your bottle or you leave it in the back of your car for a couple days, it will smell less bad than the traditional shaker bottle or traditional blender bottle, but it's still gonna smell pretty bad. So it's just nice. It's bougie or plastic. That's basically what it is, and it's like $2 more. But the most important thing is they have changed the bottom to be rounded now, which makes me think, oh, will this perform similarly to the ShakeSphere? Because they both have rounded bottoms and they both have rounded tops. The ShakeSphere is noticeably more domed on top, but that's not to say the blender bottle doesn't have rounding up there either. So, will they perform just as well as each other with the whisk, without the whisk? I mean, I don't know. Maybe the whole ShakeSphere thing is a gimmick. We'll find out. Put your bets down in the comment section below before you carry on watching this video. But let's get to it. So let's pour some water in. So this one just unscrews like this. Nice and easy. We're going to do 300 milliliters. So one of the issues I've had with the ShakeSphere, this is version 1, is that the markings, the water markings, the measurement markings are pretty hard to read. They're on the outside, they're not very useful. It's not very transparent. It's like frosted glass kind of appearance. It's plastic, but it looks like frosted glass, and it's just kind of hard to see what you're measuring out. They fixed that in their newer versions. They have one with a dedicated measurement window, as well as a newer one coming out with markings on the inside so you can clearly see when you're pouring. So anyways, so we got 300 milliliters in here. We're gonna put this away for now. We get same amount in here. We want this to be a fair test. That was much easier to see the filling line. Much easier. But again, don't hold that against ShakeSphere. They have fixed it in their newer models. This is just version 1, and this is clearly an advanced blender bottle with the rounded bottom and Eastman Triton plastic. It's next level. Alright, and then you got Mr. America over here, Mr. Big Boy, the heaviest of the bottles. Because Americans like to make it, they like to make it big, I guess. Go big or go home. Alright, so, never actually opened this bottle before. Guess it's just a twist. There we go. Very clear indicator lines on this. I really like it right off the bat. And as far as I know, this is version 1. So they got that right from the start. America. 300. Alright. By the way, if you want a super comprehensive review, like in-depth review of any of these bottles, just let me know. I'm more than happy to do a fully dedicated video talking about things like the enclosure. So this one has a sliding enclosure, which has its own pros and cons. This one has a flip enclosure, and the new ones have this thing like a bacterial guard, which is really just a lip so that your thumb isn't touching the mouthpiece. Again, it has its own pros and cons. And this one also has a flippy thing. It flips that way. Yeah. There we go. Something like that. Maybe further down. There we go. Further down. I saw some people were talking about how it was hitting you in the face when you drink. And it's obviously flip it down a little bit more. Okay? Jeez. Alright, so now, back at it. The protein powder we're going to be using is Nutricost Whey Protein Isolate. Why Nutricost and not another fancy brand like Optimum Nutrition or Synthesix or whatever? Well, because this is the most cost-efficient protein powder that I found that was Whey Protein Isolate. It's isolate, not concentrate. Sure, it's not hydrolyzed, but it's still isolate and it's fairly cheap. I'll post the link below. It's a sustainable way to drink a lot of protein. So I'm going to be putting 1 scoop of protein powder into each of these bottles. That is 30 grams of whey protein isolate. I'm actually super curious to test the results because this is something I've been meaning to do for a while. So on YouTube or anywhere else, you have seen the blender bottle versus all kinds of other bottles with other shaky things before. But as far as I could tell, and as far as I could find, I couldn't find any substantial reviews of the ShakeSphere or the Helix Mix aside from like a few small little ones. But I really wanted to do a comparison video and not just like a promotional, oh, this one's better because they paid me to or whatever. None of these companies have paid me. I'm just a regular guy who has a little bit of a problem with trying to pick which one's the best. I have a decision fatigue kind of issue. So I got all 3 to test it so that you wouldn't have to get all 3 and you can just get the best one, the one that deserves to be bought with your hard-earned money, because who wants to be the guy on their deathbed thinking, oh, I wonder which was the best protein shaker bottle. I don't want to be that guy. And I legitimately had a dream about not being able to figure out which one was the best one. And I don't want that to be a dying thought. That terrifies me, so let's find out. The protein is loaded in the bottles. To make things fair, I'm gonna set a timer and we're gonna shake things to the same level of vigor for the same amount of time. So I'm not sure, is a minute overkill? I feel like a minute's overkill. Alright, so 20 seconds, we're gonna set it and go, but of course you can't shake a shaker bottle with a shirt on, right? Let's go. Bottle in hand, start. Okay, done. Round 2 for the blender bottle. Let me make sure this is actually closed. Alright, this is tight on top, tight on the bottom. And finally, we'll go to Mr. America over here, Uncle Sam's Helix Mix. Make sure it's nice and tight. So, whew, that was surprisingly more tiring than I'd like to admit, but I just admitted it. Okay, so right off the bat, I noticed that this makes a really cool sound when you shake it. It sounds like a whirlpool. It's pretty neat. All right, so to test the consistency of the shake coming out, I guess we need a bowl. I'll get a camera on the bowl right now, right after I get back into my shirt. So I did manage to find a little battery operated light, so that's pretty cool. Alright, so first up we have the ShakeSphere. After all that shaking, let's see how the protein turned out to be. Alright. Nice and smooth, super smooth consistency. Let's get a spoon in here to check for any lumps. Alright. So, not sure. Let me lower the exposure here. There we go. Looks really good. Nice and really clean, smooth fluid here. So like the weirdo I am, I'm going to drink this whole bowl from the bowl. I don't know where else to put it. And I'm not tossing it like I've seen some other comparison videos do. People just mix the protein and throw it in the trash bin. That's crazy. I cannot speak enough good things about the Nutricost brand of nutrition supplements. They are very, very good value. Okay, so that was the ShakeSphere. We saw that was a 10 out of 10 performance, I'd say. The blender bottle. Let's see how this one looks. Pouring it out. This one is noticeably frothier. Almost lost a spoon there. The blender bottle seems to have made a significantly frothier protein mix, no doubt because of that whisk ball. That whisking action has made a nice frothy concoction, and you can hear the froth. You can hear the bubbles going on. I'm not sure if you can hear it from here, but that's pretty amazing. That's some ASMR stuff right there. Very cool. Okay, it's probably gonna taste exactly the same. Oh, I want to get that frothing. Yeah, I'm gonna bring the bowl to you guys because this frothing is really loud. Yeah, so there was no froth in the ShakeSphere, but again, the whisk, I think, did it here. Yeah, it's pretty good. It does taste a little bit lighter with the froth. Pretty good. You can see that nice creamy frothiness there. Okay, and finally, the Helix Mix. The all-American made shaker bottle. This one also seems to have quite a bit of froth. Not sure. Alright, let's find out. Open it. And then here it goes. Oop. No, I lied. It's much less froth. There is a little froth, but it's not as much as the blender bottle had. Okay. Wow, it's where was this made? In the USA. It's got the American flag, and I told you this thing is ridiculous. I know I've just drank 60 grams of protein, and now I'm gonna do another 30. 90 grams. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh no, your body can't absorb more than 30 grams of protein at a time. Bullshit. For muscle protein synthesis, yes, 30 grams at a time is pretty much the max, but the other 60 grams that I'm going to have consumed by the time I'm done with this can also be used as fuel for the body, as calories. So the body will use it. It's not gonna waste it. Just only 30 grams of it is gonna go for muscle building, but not everything in life is about muscle building. So calm down. I'm so full right now. That's a lot of protein. Okay. For you guys, for science. Alright, so if we're going to rate things, let's do it this way. For ease of mixability, they all took 20 seconds to make perfectly smooth and consistent protein shakes. However, the ShakeSphere provided no froth, so that might be a good or a bad thing depending. I kind of like that there's no froth because you get every last drop of that protein drink just comes right out. Whereas with the froth, you gotta worry about the froth sticking inside. I mean, look at that. And this one's not so bad, but definitely the liquid seems to pour out easier on through the ShakeSphere. The blender bottle makes, I think, the best tasting one because the whisk really beats up that foam and makes it nice and foamy. It tastes like a drink that you would pay to go and get from a store, not a protein drink that you drink because you want to build muscle or meet your protein requirements. So that's really nice. The Helix Mix, Mr. America here, is kind of sort of in the middle ground. It makes a little froth, but not as frothy as the blender bottle. But obviously there's froth, so it's frothier than the ShakeSphere. So that's really cool. Okay, but we kind of all expected a shaker bottle to be able to blend a protein drink fairly easily, because if your shaker bottle does not do that, then it's a bad shaker bottle. So like the ones with the meshes and stuff sometimes have a little bit of trouble with the protein powders. Obviously your mileage might vary depending on the brand and type of protein powder that you use. Again, Nutricost here makes fairly soluble protein, whey protein isolate, so this stuff does mix fairly well. It doesn't mix by itself. If you just drop it in water, it won't just dissolve and turn into the drink, but it's not as bad as some other types. Like if you get vegan protein powder, those are a little bit harder, so you're gonna have to shake that a lot more. But to put the hardcore shaking to the test, we have a bunch of bananas. And we also have peanut butter. I don't want to drink any more protein powder because that was a lot. So I think we'll save the peanut butter for another time. If you guys really want to see how peanut butter blends in a shaker bottle, just let me know and I will gladly throw some in with a protein shake and it'll probably be fine. But I really want to try the bananas. So I'm going to take a whole banana and put it in each of these bottles, and I'm just going to shake them until hopefully they puree, and we'll see if the marketing is really just marketing and it's jumbo mumbo crap, or if there's actually proven science behind the ShakeSphere's ability to puree full fruits. I believe the Helix Mix claims that you can do peanut butter and maybe soft fruit, but I didn't see them say throw a whole banana inside and watch it go like ShakeSphere did. ShakeSphere is pretty confident in their claim. Blender bottle, again, says not to throw the whole banana in and to squeeze it first and toss it in, but really if I have to squeeze it first and puree it in the skin of the banana before I push it in there, then the blender bottle is not doing anything. It's just mixing mush around, which is, that's not impressive to me. And if you're gonna get one shaker bottle, you might as well just get the one that does it all, right? So let's check it out. I'm gonna move this bowl. You know, actually the test bowl is good here. So all right, banana number one. Guess I gotta open this first. So I'm not gonna dry these out completely, but for all intents and purposes, it's dry. There's maybe a tiny bit of residue from the protein shake battle a few minutes ago. So banana number one, no trickery. It's a solid banana. It has not been mushed. And let's look. I have not broken. I'm just taking off that part that nobody likes. Okay, and take this whole banana out. One banana right in here. Again, if you want an individual comprehensive review on any of these bottles, just let me know. I'll do really in-depth stuff. This is just more of a comparison video than a review. Banana number two. Right, dropping this whole ass banana in here. Boom. Alright. Banana number three. Sorry, blender bottle. I'm not going to listen to your instructions, obviously. people should know by now. They should know better than to tell me not to do things, because that's a surefire way to get me to do things. Whole banana barely fits with the ball inside. Okay, so let's cap it. Let's take it for a spin. Post your predictions in the comments below, and let's see, what do you think will puree the banana the best? Alright, so since ShakeSphere is the one to make the claim, we are going to take it for a spin first. And of course, one cannot shake a shaker bottle with their shirt on. So we're going to do 20 seconds again. It's not necessarily fair because this is a solid versus the powder and water mixture, so maybe 20 seconds isn't enough, but we'll find out. 20 seconds, go. Okay, stop. Kind of a mini workout there. So, okay, I'm curious to see. It looks liquidy, but we'll find out in the pour test in a second. Alright. Whew. It's tired. Alright, blender bottle next. 20 seconds. Vigorous shaking. Go! Stop. This looks like a mess. I don't know what happened. In here it looks like a war zone, so... Okay, anyways, wow, I'm gonna need a breather before I do the third one. Alright, number 3. So, alright, I'm gonna stop the camera and switch out the battery, but let's see how it did. Okay, so first results. The ShakeSphere. First, let's take a look at what it looks like on the inside. I'm just gonna open this. Let me get this exposure right here. So, it is indeed fairly well pureed. It is banana puree, for sure. To prove it, I will pour it out. Wait, consistency, I mean, there we go, exposure. It is definitely, it's not a liquid, but you can hardly call that a solid anymore. So there you go. Can you puree an entire banana in a ShakeSphere? You absolutely can. You absolutely can. What I am curious to see though is how these other 2 bottles fared in the competition, and since I'm not shaking anything anymore, I'm sure it's gonna come back on. Alright, so bottle number 2, the blender bottle. See how it did. Boom, boom, boom. You know, for something that told me not to do it, it did pretty well. It did pretty damn well. Of course, now you have a whisk ball stuck on the inside. It's just kind of jammed in there, so I'm going to pour it out and we'll see how liquidy it is. It's a little bit thicker than the blender bottle. I mean, it's a little bit thicker than the ShakeSphere, but it's still a puree. It still does it. Scrape it out. Now, at this point, you can obviously, one of the key advantages of the ShakeSphere is you don't have this thing to deal with. Now you gotta clean this thing, and right at the edges, that's where stuff really accumulates and gets stuck and gunked up. But we'll deal with that later. that did fairly well as well. I am actually fairly surprised at how I managed to puree the fruit with the whisk inside. Frankly, mind blown. Alright, and lastly we have the Helix Mix. The American Helix Mix. Let's see how it did. One thing I don't like about this bottle is it's very angular. It's kind of uncomfortable to open. Okay, so it looks mushy as well. And let's pour it out and see how it looks. This is definitely lumpier. Definitely lumpier. Okay. But still pureed enough to be called a puree, I think, in my books. So, what have we learned here? I think the lesson here is that if you take a banana and you put it in a bottle and you shake it hard enough for long enough, it will turn to puree, regardless of the bottle. However, credit where credit is due, the ShakeSphere seems to have done the best job in pureeing and making like a nice smooth banana liquid compared to the other ones. But that's all I can really say about that. So the last thing I would like to compare is the ease of cleaning, and I'm gonna do this in the bathroom because I don't want to splash water all over here. So join me in the bathroom. Alright, so the power is still out, so there's no bathroom lights, so I have to use this light. Let's start, and yeah, all the banana residue is still more or less inside each of these bottles. It's not clean anyway. But ShakeSphere says that to clean theirs, all you really gotta do is fill it with water, shake it, and because of the energy transference of the spherical interior design, it should self-clean fairly well. The other two don't really make such a claim, but I'm going to try and wash it that way anyways because convenience is king here. Okay, so they're each filled with water, and again, if you want to see a full review on any of these bottles, let me know. I'm more than happy to show you the differences. Like, just when I was filling it up with water, I noticed the different lids. There's a design that I prefer over the other ones, and for good reasons, but I'll share that in that video if you asked for it. So first, let's clean this up. So now, to make my landlord really hate me, I'm gonna pour banana fluids down here. So, slide top, yeah. Look at that, oh, relatively clear, a little foam at the end, which means it's not fully clean. But I was expecting to do two clean washes anyways. That's how I normally do it with this bottle. Let's see how the other ones fare though. This is clean number 1, clean cycle 1. Same, a little bit of foam left over in there, which means it definitely needs at least one more clean cycle. And last but not least, well, first and foremost, because it's America. Because just in case you were wondering where this was made, it was made in the USA. America. Okay. Same foamage at the end. Alright, let's go for round 2 of washing. It's pretty much clean now. Yeah, it's clean. Alright. Same with Pretty much same with this one. I'd say it's fairly clean. So it seems 2 washes is the secret to cleaning your blender bottle with just water. I mean, your shaker bottle with just water. And this one I suspect will be the same. Oh no! Did I not shake this one? There's still a little bit of foam in there. I thought I shook this one. Yeah, no foam in this one. Foam in here. Uh-oh. Let me give it another rinse. Alright, now it's on par with the other one. So this one takes, it took me 3 rinses just now. As you can see, they are fairly easy to clean, all 3 of them. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to cleaning it. Now, the only thing left is, will this blend without the whisk ball? And is that thing even useful? Is that just a gimmick? We saw that it did increase the froth in the protein shake, but if I don't want froth, if I took that out, would it still work? Let's find out as promised. And you might be interested to see that the ball is actually fairly clean, just from water alone, despite having churned through 1 banana. But we're not gonna use this ball this time. I'm gonna put this aside. Boop. And it's just gonna be water and 1 scoop of protein powder, and we will see how that looks. Does the whisk does it even do anything? I'm sure it does when you have more ingredients in there, but for the vast majority of us who are just plopping a scoop of protein powder in and shaking it up, does it need the whisk? Does it need the whisk? Okay, so I have removed the whisk. You can see here, no whisk. The whisk is over there. Yeah, it's over there. Okay, so I'm just gonna shake it. It'll just be my hands in the frame this time while the camera is dead. It's a lot more quiet without the whisk bouncing around in there. And freaking guess what? It mixed perfectly fine. It looks perfectly fluid. I'm not gonna drink this one just because I've drank a lot already. I'm gonna stick this in the fridge, but yeah, it looks like it just works. The whisk ball, maybe with, I can't imagine, maybe with peanut butter. I feel like you just gotta shake it hard enough. If you shake it hard enough, anything is going to mix. You don't really need anything bouncing around in there, but I guess this helps break things up. I don't know. All right, well, there you have it. Is there really a difference between these shaker bottles in terms of performance? It's kind of hard to say. I mean, there's definitely a difference between the other types of shaker bottles that use the mesh and the spring on the straw. Those aren't very effective, as seen in other YouTube comparisons. However, when comparing fringe technology, ball-less shaking technology, I feel like they perform fairly similarly, which is kind of a disappointment, because I was really hoping that these innovations, this Helix design or this spherical design, would really increase the blending performance. But as I've just shown in with the regular shaker bottle, without the whisk ball, it just works. It works just as well. However, it is important to note that these new blender bottles do have a rounded bottom, which might might be why it blends so nicely even without the whisk, because it aids in that energy transfer, just like how the ShakeSphere has it. The ShakeSphere is a little bit more pronounced. It's definitely more of a dome, and it's smoother on the inside, I feel, in terms of the cornering. Whereas the blender bottle, while the bottom is really nicely domed underneath this ring here, the top isn't very pronounced. If you look at it, it's kind of flat-ish, even though it is a rounded dome and there's no corners really for stuff to get caught in. It's not as pronounced. So if energy transference really is a big deal, is a thing, then the ShakeSphere has the edge, I guess. But in everyday performance, when you're just taking a scoop of protein powder and tossing it in with a little bit of water and shaking it up, this is probably the best bang for your buck. This is, I think I got this for around $11, $10, $11. You can get blender bottles for cheaper, even $7, $8 for the different ones. Though I say go for the ones with the rounded base, because I think that really does make a difference. But literally half the price of these other two, which retail around like 20 bucks each. The price might have dropped for the original ShakeSphere, but the newer ones are still 20 bucks or so. And yeah, I mean, performance-wise, you saw it right here, firsthand right here. There's really not that much of a difference. Sure, the banana puree, I feel the ShakeSphere did a slightly better job, but at the end of the day, it's still not fully liquid, and it's kind of like a chunkish-ish solid. And given enough time and enough vigorous shaking, I feel like all three bottles would have given the same exact results. Maybe they would take more or less time by, I don't know, 5-10 seconds each. Doesn't really matter. So I'd say if you want to save money and make the most bang for your buck, go for the cheapest bottle out there. And in this case, it was the Blender Bottle Pro series, or you can just get the Blender Bottle Classic version 2. That's the one with the rounded base. As far as I can tell, that's all there is to it. That said though, honorable mentions. The Helix Mix is an all-American company. That's great if you like to support local businesses and you really want to support American businesses. Then Helix Mix is, I guess, it's very patriotic. If you have that patriotic uncle who just won't stop talking about patriotism, get him this. This is, he would love how it constantly reminds you that it is made in America. If, however, you would like to support a small business that has really, really good staff, like the people working there are fantastic, and the owners I've chatted with here and there on Instagram after making this stupid video, and they're really nice people. They're just genuinely good-hearted people, and it's a small company. It's hard to make it in this world as a small company. If you want to support them, ShakeSphere is the way to go. I really like what they're doing at ShakeSphere, and the new product line looks pretty sweet. They have a double wall insulated ShakeSphere bottle with markings on the inside, so it's much easier to read the markings than I was making it out to be. And quite frankly, I like their design. This is a cool looking bottle. I mean, you don't really, it's an interesting shape. The blender bottle just looks like any other, I mean, there's nothing really special about it. It's just a shaker bottle. Boring. The Helix bottle, I'd say it's polarizing. I don't quite like the way it looks. It looks kind of cheap-ish. Not saying it's cheap. It feels high quality. It just looks, I don't know, it looks like a generic water bottle, but with an interesting design, I guess, with the Helix. The main thing I don't like about it is how sharp they made the edges here. When you try and open and close it, it's just kind of pointy. It's kind of like a stealth jet design, but it's a bottle. You don't need pointy radar deflecting angles on a bottle. I'd much rather have a nice rounded, comfortable opening experience. But that being said, it was proven Right here, it mixes just as well as the other two bottles. And for those reviews that I've seen on this that have people complaining that it pokes you in the face when you're drinking it like that, it's again because you don't have it open yet. Just open it some more and you can drink all day. Just open it some more. There's kind of it stops here and then you pull it down some more. That's it, okay? Stop giving them bad reviews because it's poking you in the face. You're poking yourself in the face. Just open it. That was it. So hopefully if you found this video informative or entertaining, or it's helped you in your purchase decision and which bottle to buy, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment in the description below telling me which bottle you chose, and if you have the heart, you have the time of day and the heart and the soul to hit that subscribe button for me. Just subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. It really lets me know that I should be making more of these videos. You know, I'd really appreciate it. And if I get to 30 subscribers, I will eat I'll eat 3 bananas. I'll eat 3 bananas at the start of my first video after passing 30 subscribers. So I don't know if that's incentive to subscribe or not to subscribe, because who wants to watch me eat 3 bananas? But I'll do it. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, share it, comment, share it with your friends who are on the fence about buying their next shaker bottle. And I will see you in the next video. The ShakeSphere and the, God damn it,